Vast, ominous, mythical. The Bermuda Triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle, one of the greatest mysteries of our time.
Get the life jacket.
Popularized in Hollywood.
Why isn't it getting any better? It's been getting worse.
Driving that mystery, stories like the Lost Squadron, 5 U.S. Navy aircraft that vanished over the Triangle in 1945.
Have you ever looked at a mystery and thought, there has to be more to this? That maybe the answers we've been given don't tell the whole story? Because what I'm about to show you is not just another conspiracy theory. It's real. And it's happening right now.
The Bermuda Triangle covers about 500,000 square miles of the Atlantic Ocean, between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. It has claimed numerous victims.
As the losses have piled up, the area has become infamous, legendary worldwide even. Everyone knows about the Bermuda Triangle, but yet nobody knows what's going on over there.
For decades, the Bermuda Triangle has been shrouded in mystery. From chilling wreckage found in impossible places to sudden, unexplained disappearances that happened just months ago.
If you get wrapped up in that, you can't get out. It's like a Pandora's box. Anything could happen when you're down there.
The evidence is piling up. And so, without further ado, let's go over the most horrifying discoveries from the Bermuda Triangle, starting with one that will make you question if we've ever truly been alone in these waters.
Over the past 50 years, 3,000 ships and 100 planes have gone missing in a mysterious stretch of water in the Atlantic Ocean.
Ships have gone missing, planes have gone missing.
Known as the Devil's Triangle.
A source of intrigue, legend, and fear. This is the Bermuda Triangle.
Number 20. The disappearance of Flight 19, 1945. I've always been fascinated by tales of lost aircraft, but the story of Flight 19 sends shivers down my spine every time. On December 5th, 1945, 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, collectively known as Flight 19, took off from Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale for a routine training mission over the Atlantic. The mission was straightforward, a triangular flight plan that should have brought them back to base without incident.
It was a routine training flight. Supposed to take off, drop some bombs, shoot a little navigation, and then come back to base.
However, as the flight progressed, the squadron leader reported that their compasses were malfunctioning.
We should be seeing land by now. There's nothing out there.
And they couldn't determine their position. Radio transmissions became increasingly frantic as the pilots discussed their confusion and dwindling fuel supplies. Despite clear weather conditions, they were utterly lost. The Navy dispatched a PBM Mariner flying boat to search for the missing planes. Tragically, this rescue aircraft also vanished without a trace. Over the following days, an extensive search operation covered 250,000 square miles of the Atlantic Ocean, but no wreckage or survivors were ever found. There's still no conclusive evidence explaining what happened to these 6 aircraft and their 27 crew members. This incident leaves me questioning, how can multiple aircraft disappear without a trace in an era of advancing technology? What unknown forces lurk within the Bermuda Triangle, waiting to claim their next victims? Number 19. Disney cruise ship rescues stranded sailors in the Bermuda Triangle.
A Coast Guard crew from Elizabeth City was called to help rescue 4 people from a ship taking on water in the Atlantic Ocean.
There are lots of stories about ships disappearing in the Bermuda Triangle, but this next one actually made it out alive. In November 2024, 4 sailors aboard a 50-foot catamaran named Serenity were sailing 230 miles off the Bermuda coast when things took a terrifying turn. A gasket failure in the escape hatch started flooding the boat, and they had no way to stop it. They sent out a distress call, hoping someone was close enough to help. The nearest ship was the Disney Treasure, a 1,119-foot cruise ship that was 80 miles away at the time. Despite the distance, it immediately changed course to rescue them. When it arrived, the crew launched a rescue boat and pulled the stranded sailors to safety. The footage of this rescue is incredible. but it makes me wonder whether it was just luck that the Disney treasure was nearby. Because we know that when ships go missing in the Bermuda Triangle, they're usually never found. These sailors were lucky. But if history tells us anything, not everyone who runs into trouble in these waters gets a second chance. Number 18. The ghost ship S.V. Carroll, a Deering, 1921. So the thing is, ships have disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle for years. But what happens when one comes back with no one on board? That is exactly what happened with the S.V. Carroll A. Deering, a 5-masted schooner that was found adrift off the coast of North Carolina in 1921. The ship was fully intact, but the entire crew was missing. There were no distress signals, no signs of an attack, just an empty vessel floating aimlessly in the ocean. When investigators boarded the ship, they found food still set out in the kitchen, as if the crew had planned to return. But here is where it gets even stranger. All navigation equipment and lifeboats were gone, and the ship's logbook was missing. The U.S. government investigated everything from piracy to mutiny, but no solid explanation was ever found. Some believe the crew was taken by force. Others think they encountered something even more terrifying. A fully operational ship abandoned without a trace. No bodies, no answers. Just another mystery buried in the Bermuda Triangle. What do you think happened? Number 17. The plane that reappeared 37 years later. Planes go missing all the time, but they don't just reappear decades later. In 1992, air traffic controllers at Caracas Airport in Venezuela picked up a plane on radar that seemed out of place. When it got closer, they saw it was a Douglas DC-4, an aircraft model that had been out of service for years. The pilots inside looked confused, as if they had no idea where they were. The airport tower tried to communicate, but all they got back was a cryptic message. The pilot reportedly said, "Where are we?" before the plane suddenly veered away and disappeared into the clouds. Investigators later linked the aircraft to Pan American Flight 914, a plane that originally took off from New York in 1955 with 57 passengers on board. That flight was declared lost after entering the Bermuda Triangle, and no wreckage was ever found. No one knows what really happened that day in 1992, or if this story is even real. But even to this day, people still claim a ghost flight appeared in the skies over Venezuela and then vanished forever. Number 16. The sunken city found beneath the Bermuda Triangle. Remember when we thought the Bermuda Triangle was just an area of lost ships and planes? Well, some researchers believe there might be something much older lurking beneath the surface. In 2001, oceanographers Paul Weinsweig and Pauline Zalitsky claimed to have discovered something incredible while scanning the ocean floor near the western edge of the Bermuda Triangle. What they found looked like massive stone structures arranged in a way that resembled a sunken city. The scans reportedly revealed giant pyramids, circular plazas, and roads stretching across the seabed, all buried under layers of sand and sediment. Some believe this could be the remains of an ancient civilization that existed thousands of years ago before being swallowed by the ocean. Of course, not everyone is convinced. Some say the formations are just natural rock structures, while others think the entire discovery is nothing more than a hoax. But if these ruins are real, then the Bermuda Triangle might be hiding more than just missing ships. It could be covering up an entire lost city that was forgotten by history. So what's your take on this? Could this be the real-life Atlantis? Number 15. The unexplained disappearance of the Witchcraft, 1967. We always hear about ships vanishing in the Bermuda Triangle, but what makes this one so eerie is that it disappeared right after calling for help. On December 22, 1967, a cabin cruiser named Witchcraft set out from Miami with 2 men on board. They weren't planning a long journey, just a short ride to enjoy the Christmas lights from the water. But minutes after leaving shore, the captain radioed the Coast Guard, reporting that the boat had hit something. He made it clear that there was no immediate danger and that they just needed a tow. The Coast Guard arrived 19 minutes later, but when they reached the boat's last known location, it was completely gone. There was no wreckage, no bodies, no oil slick, just open water. The Coast Guard searched over 24,000 square miles, but they never found a single trace of the Witchcraft or its passengers. The boat was supposedly unsinkable due to built-in flotation, so even if something catastrophic had happened, debris should have been floating at the surface. No one knows what happened. Did they sink? Did they get pulled into something much darker? One thing is certain, though. The Bermuda Triangle doesn't always give back what it takes. Number 14. The mysterious disappearance of the SS Cotopaxi, 1925. On December 1st, 1925, the SS Cotopaxi, a steam-powered cargo ship, left Charleston, South Carolina, heading toward Havana, Cuba. It was carrying coal and a crew of 32. 2 days into the journey, the ship sent out a distress signal, but after that, it was never seen again. For years, the SS Cotopaxi was just another mystery swallowed by the Bermuda Triangle. But in 2020, marine biologists identified a shipwreck 35 miles off the coast of St. Augustine, Florida, matching the Cotopaxi's description. The discovery seemed to confirm that the ship didn't disappear into another dimension, but instead went down due to bad weather. But in 2015, before the wreck was even found, a Cuban Coast Guard patrol reported spotting a ghost ship drifting near their waters. When they investigated, they claimed it was the SS Cotopaxi, a ship that had been missing for nearly a century. Number 13. The Vanishing of the Star Tiger, 1948. So the thing is, we expect planes to crash due to storms, mechanical failures, or pilot errors. But what happens when a plane just disappears from the sky with no explanation? Because that's exactly what happened on January 30th, 1948, when a British South American Airways plane called Star Tiger was flying from the Azores to Bermuda. It was a Tudor 4 aircraft, carrying 25 passengers and 6 crew members. The flight was smooth, and everything seemed normal, until it wasn't. Less than an hour before landing, all radio contact was lost. There was no distress signal, no signs of turbulence, and no warnings from the pilots. One moment the plane was there, and the next, it was gone. Search and rescue teams scoured over 1,000 square miles of ocean, but never found a single piece of wreckage. No bodies, no floating debris, nothing. The official report concluded that the cause of the disappearance was unknown, which only added to the growing legend of the Bermuda Triangle. So, was it a sudden mechanical failure, or did something much stranger happen in those final moments? Whatever the case, the Star Tiger remains one of the most chilling aviation mysteries of all time. Number 12. Planes are still vanishing without a trace. Every year, aircraft go missing in this region, and some of them are never seen again. In 2017, a private MU-2B twin-engine plane vanished while flying from Puerto Rico to Florida. There was no distress call, no sign of bad weather, and no mechanical issues reported before takeoff. The plane simply disappeared from radar over the Bermuda Triangle, taking the pilot and 3 passengers with it. A massive search effort covered over 8,200 square miles of ocean, but investigators found no wreckage, no bodies, and no clues as to what happened. Number 11. The Underwater Pyramid Mystery. In 2012, researchers using sonar scans claimed to have found 2 massive pyramid-shaped structures beneath the Bermuda Triangle. These structures were said to be made of a smooth, glass-like material and were sitting nearly 2,000 meters below the surface. Some believe these pyramids could be ancient ruins, possibly connected to the lost city of Atlantis. Others think they might be natural formations or even military testing sites that have yet to be officially documented. What makes this even stranger is that sonar disturbances and strange energy readings have been reported around the area where the pyramids were allegedly found. Some researchers suggest that unusual electromagnetic activity in the Bermuda Triangle could be linked to these formations, possibly interfering with navigation systems and even causing some of the disappearances. There has been no official confirmation of these structures, and some dismiss the reports as misinterpretations of natural underwater formations. But if these pyramids do exist, I can only wonder who built them. And if you think the first 10 are disturbing enough, just wait until we get to the next part. Number 10. The sub that vanished and then reappeared. A ship vanishing in the Bermuda Triangle is one thing, but what happens when it reappears under completely bizarre circumstances? In 1968, the USS Scorpion, a nuclear-powered submarine, was returning to its home base in Norfolk, Virginia. It was carrying 99 crew members and was one of the most advanced submarines of its time. Then, without warning, it vanished in the Bermuda Triangle. For 5 months, the Navy searched for the missing sub, but there were no distress signals, no debris, and no signs of an attack. It was as if the Scorpion had been wiped off the face of the Earth. Then, in October 1968, the wreckage was suddenly discovered 400 miles away from its last known location, sitting on the ocean floor at a depth of 10,000 feet. The hull was completely crushed, but there was no clear explanation for what happened. Some believe it was a mechanical failure. Others suspect a secret Cold War cover-up. And then there are those who think the Bermuda Triangle played a role in its strange disappearance, and even stranger reappearance. Number 9. The missing squadron that never sent a distress call. Pilots are trained to report emergencies, but in this next case, an entire squadron vanished in silence. In 1956, 5 U.S. Navy jets took off from Florida for a routine training mission. They were flying in formation over the Bermuda Triangle when something strange happened. The lead pilot radioed that everything seemed off, but he could not explain why. Moments later, all 5 aircraft disappeared from radar at the exact same time. Search and rescue teams expected to find debris floating in the water, but despite combing thousands of square miles, nothing was ever recovered. There was no distress call, no wreckage, and no explanation for how 5 military jets could vanish simultaneously. Some experts believe the pilots could have become disoriented due to sudden magnetic anomalies, which have been reported in the Bermuda Triangle for years. Others think they may have entered a powerful storm that caused their planes to crash. But here's the thing. Even if they crashed, why didn't at least one pilot send out a mayday call? The U.S. military has never solved this case, leaving it as one of the Triangle's most unsettling aviation disappearances. Number 8. The ghostly SOS signal from the SS Sudovko. The SS Sudovko was a massive iron-hulled steamship built to handle the roughest waters. In 1926, it set sail from New York, fully loaded and en route to Havana, Cuba. The voyage was expected to be routine, but when the ship entered the Bermuda Triangle, it vanished without a trace. For weeks, there was no sign of wreckage, no survivors, and no explanation. Then, something chilling happened. A faint SOS signal was picked up by a nearby vessel. The distress message came from the Sudovko's call sign, but it wasn't a normal mayday. The radio transmission was filled with garbled voices, static, and eerie, unintelligible whispers. Rescue teams immediately rushed to the coordinates where the signal originated, expecting to find lifeboats, debris, or some trace of the missing ship. Instead, they found nothing. The Sudovko had been gone for weeks, yet someone, or something, had just sent a distress call using its frequency. Was this just a bizarre electrical glitch, or was the crew of the Sudovko reaching out from beyond the grave? Whatever the explanation, the ship was never seen again, and the mystery of its final transmission remains unsolved. Number 7. The missing crew of the Mary Celeste. Now, disappearing in the Bermuda Triangle is one thing, but imagine finding a fully stocked ship floating in the middle of nowhere, with nobody on board. That's exactly what happened in 1872 when sailors stumbled upon the Mary Celeste drifting near the Bermuda Triangle. The ship was in perfect shape, the cargo was untouched, the crew's belongings were still there, and there was 6 months' worth of food and water. The entire crew was gone. No distress call, no blood, no damage, just an empty ship, abandoned for no reason. The ship's lifeboat was missing, but why would trained sailors ditch a stable vessel in the middle of the ocean? Some say a rogue wave took them out. Others think it was pirates. And then there are the wild theories: sea monsters, aliens, or the triangle itself swallowing them whole. No one knows what really happened, and honestly, that's what makes it terrifying. A fully functional ship, left behind like its crew, just vanished into thin air. Number 6. The pilot who vanished mid-flight. I think pilots are supposed to be the ones in control during emergencies. But what do you even do when you're the one disappearing mid-flight? In 1978, a 20-year-old Australian pilot named Frederick Valentich was flying a small Cessna 182 over the Bass Strait, just south of Australia. Everything seemed normal until he suddenly radioed air traffic control, saying there was a strange aircraft hovering above him. He kept describing it. He said it had 4 bright lights, was moving erratically, and was not an airplane. The last thing the tower heard was him saying, "It's hovering, and it's not an aircraft." Then, the radio cut out. The search lasted for weeks. No wreckage, no body, no sign of the plane. It was as if Valentich and his Cessna had been erased from existence. Some people think he got disoriented and crashed into the ocean. Others say it was a hoax. But the most chilling theory is that he was taken by whatever he saw in the sky that night. Now what's even creepier is how other people reported seeing a strange green light in the sky at the same time he vanished. Did Valentich witness something he wasn't supposed to? Or did the Bermuda Triangle reach beyond its borders to claim another victim? Number 5. The ship that sailed itself. If the missing pilot is giving you anxiety for your upcoming flight, just wait till you hear about this next case in 1935, when the MV Joyita, a merchant ship, was found adrift near Fiji, completely abandoned. The 25 crew members and passengers were missing. But here's the thing. The ship itself wasn't even badly damaged. When rescuers boarded it, they found food and supplies untouched, like the crew had just stepped away for a second. The radio was still working, but the lifeboats were gone. Even weirder, the ship had taken on water, but it was still completely seaworthy. There was no reason to abandon it. Some say it was pirates. Others believe the crew panicked over a small leak and fled. But then, there are theories that something far more terrifying happened. Something that made 25 people disappear without a trace. What could scare an entire crew so badly that they'd rather take their chances in the open ocean? All I know is, the MV Joyita is still one of the eeriest ghost ships ever found, and we still don't know what really happened. Number 4, the deep-sea creature caught on radar. And if shipwrecks and vanishing planes aren't scary enough, what if I tell you that something living is lurking in the Bermuda Triangle? In 2018, a deep-sea research team was scanning the ocean floor near the Bermuda Triangle when they picked up something massive on sonar. At first, they thought it was just an underwater ridge until it started moving. The object was 3 times the size of a blue whale and had an unusual shape that didn't match any known marine species. It swam slowly at first, then suddenly darted away at a speed no normal sea creature should be able to reach. Scientists have debated what the team actually saw. Some say it could have been a giant squid or an undiscovered deep-sea species. Others think it might have been a sonar glitch. But here's the thing. Over the years, sailors have reported seeing huge, unidentifiable creatures in these waters. Could this be the first real evidence that something terrifying lives in the depths of the Bermuda Triangle? And if a creature this big is lurking beneath the surface, what else could be hiding down there? Number 3, the time travel incident. In 1970, Pilot Bruce Jernan was flying a small aircraft from the Bahamas to Florida when he saw a massive cloud tunnel form in front of him. With no way around it, he flew straight through. And that's when things got weird. Inside the tunnel, his plane's instruments started malfunctioning. His compass spun wildly, and his radio turned to complete static. The strangest part? The walls of the tunnel started glowing. When he finally broke through the other side, Miami controllers couldn't find him on radar. According to Jernan's calculations, he should have been in the air for at least an hour, but he landed in Miami 35 minutes too early. It was as if he had just skipped through time. To this day, Jernan swears something altered time and space inside that cloud tunnel. Scientists dismiss it as pilot error. But I mean, how do you explain an entire flight missing 35 minutes of time? Number 2, the mystery of the USS Cyclops. Now, if you ever think a massive Navy ship is too big to just disappear, the Bermuda Triangle will prove you wrong. In 1918, the USS Cyclops, a 542-foot-long Navy cargo ship, set sail from Brazil to Baltimore, carrying over 300 crew members and a full load of manganese ore. It was supposed to be a routine trip, but as soon as it entered the Bermuda Triangle, it vanished without a trace. The U.S. Navy launched one of the biggest search operations in history, covering thousands of square miles. But they found nothing. No wreckage, no bodies, no oil slick. It was as if the Cyclops had been wiped from existence. What makes me wonder even more is the fact that the Cyclops had 2 sister ships that traveled similar routes years later, and both of them also disappeared without a trace. Number 1. The 29-foot Mako Cuddy cabin that vanished without a trace. 2020. Feeling spooked after those last few disappearances? Alright, let's bring things back to something more recent. Surely in 2020, with modern technology and tracking systems, a boat can't just vanish, right? Well, that's exactly what happened when a 29-foot Mako Cuddy cabin vessel left the Bahamas for Florida with 20 people on board. It was supposed to be a routine trip, but the boat never made it. The U.S. Coast Guard launched a massive search covering 17,000 square miles of open ocean. But here's where it gets eerie. They found no wreckage, no bodies, no distress signals, nothing. Now, disappearances like this aren't unheard of, but in 2020, with GPS, satellite tracking, and instant communication, there should have been some trace. And that wraps up today's video. So, what do you think? Are these disappearances just a mix of bad weather, accidents, and human error? Or is there something far more mysterious happening in the Bermuda Triangle? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing mysteries like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.